This is the first lecture for Chapter 19, Thermodynamics. And starting off, this is kind of a late continuation of Chapter 5, in which we talked about thermochemistry, and looking at a couple different elements to that. So we're going to be introducing something called entropy and then free energy, so putting those concepts together. Starting off, something that we'll mention is the idea of spontaneity of a reaction. So some processes just occur without any outside interference. So the examples they're showing here in the little picture is if you had a gas in a container, as we have over here on the left, and we open up this valve, the gas is just going to mix without any outside interference. It's just going to mix naturally. But what wouldn't happen, which would be very unnatural, would be non-spontaneous, is if the gas just all decided to move all to the right side. So we can see how some processes occur naturally and some not so much. Same thing with like dropping eggs. They naturally fall down, but they're not going to go on back up. So spontaneous in one direction, not in the other. And another example you could use is freezing water. Same idea. If we're above freezing, 0 degrees Celsius, we would expect the water to melt, and then just the opposite if you're below freezing. So a reversible process, this example isn't the best, I guess, but we can see that if a system is hot or cold, so for example the system here on the left is hot, so it's transferring energy to the exterior, and then just the opposite. If the outside is hot, it's going to transfer energy to the system. If they were at the same temperature, then therefore the energy could go back and forth, and therefore it would be considered reversible. Another example, an irreversible process, is the example you see here, that you have a vacuum on one side, so there's no work that really has to be done with this gas. I remove the barrier, this little partition in the middle, and the gas is going to take up the full space of the container. But in order to return it to its original shape or station, I would have to put some work into the system. So that shows that it is an irreversible process. It can't get back to where it started without some outside input. All right, now moving on to entropy. Entropy is a measure of the randomness of a system, or the disorder of a system. And we can look at it in regards to Q, which, if you remember from Chapter 5, Q is kind of like enthalpy. It really actually is enthalpy at a constant temperature. Or excuse me, with constant pressure. Take that back. At a constant pressure, enthalpy is equal to Q. All right, we're good with this. So if we want to look at the total amount of entropy, we have to look at the starting amount of entropy that we have and subtract off the initial amount. And this is considered a state function, which we did back in Chapter 5. We talked about that, which is the same as we have for total energy and the enthalpy of a system. So it doesn't matter the route and how much energy it may take to get there. It really only matters where you start and where you finish. And we already kind of mentioned this. The energy that is comparable, again, is this Q value, which is reversible, which means the energy that goes into a system, and we're talking about energy, and the energy that goes out of a system. We're just having a different sign here. So if I was talking about something else, I would change the sign, whether it's going into the system or out of the system. But it's happening at a particular temperature, which we'll see develop here in just a moment. Second law of thermodynamics simply states that systems in a reversible process, there is no energy change because it can go back and forth and there's no difference. Where if it's an irreversible system, then entropy is always going to increase. And I think we have a summary of that right here. So this is just restating that same process we were just mentioning here. That if the system is reversible, that these two values are the same. So remember, this one's going to be the opposite in sign. So this energy or the change that's going into this system, the disorder, is equal but opposite the sign that's going from the surroundings. The difference is just going to be 0, and it's reversible. It can go back and forth. Where if it's irreversible, you're going to have different values for these two systems. And if it's a positive value, notice how it's saying greater than 0. If it's a positive value, that means the system is gaining entropy. Okay, good enough. This is brought about by a guy named Ludwig Boltzmann, and here's his little equation. I think we'll see that on the next slide. Maybe not. It'll come up here eventually. But what he's looking at here is different types of motion, and he calls these microstates. So different things will measure into microstates. You have transitional motion, which is just the movement of the particle. You have vibrational, which the picture down below here does a pretty good job of demonstrating. You can have this back and forth motion vibrating. And then you can have rotational, which just means there's movements within the molecule itself. And apparently the formula's around here somewhere. Let's see if we can find it over here. There we go. So microstates. So that is expressed in this term right here, W. And K is just a constant, so it's not really going to have much factor in here. And we're not going to do anything with this equation. It's just shown here as a reference of where this term entropy kind of develops from. So again, we can see the difference between a final and initial amount of microstates, and we can see how entropy increases with the more microstates we have. And your book has a pretty good description of different types of entropy expressions. So for example, a gas has more motion, the particles have more motion than a liquid does, so therefore gases have more entropy. If you're looking at a substance that has a larger molar mass, there's more stuff, so it has more entropy. Something is at a higher temperature. Okay, we kind of express that with liquids and gases. And I think there's some other examples which aren't coming to mind, but we can talk about in the class. I guess here's some of those examples. What do you know? And this is what we kind of expressed already. So entropy will increase as the temperature increases, and just looking at the states, we can see that solids are going to have lower entropy than gaseous states. And this is the same idea when you have a solution. You have a solid, in this case we'll use a solid, that if we're dissolving it into solution, it's gaining more motion, more microstate potential. So we'll move on to the next one here. And looking at the more entropy changes here, you can see that entropy is going to increase looking across all these different scenarios. So I'm not going to those. You can look at those on your own. This is a different way of looking at a phase change diagram. So we did this before where you end up having kind of a, and then as you're going up, you get something that kind of looks like that. Excuse my drawing. This is the same idea where we have temperature going across the bottom, but we're looking at its P in comparison. So we can see as the temperature increases, we get to a phase change here where a solid's turning into a liquid, which I guess we'll call melting. And then the same thing over here with vaporization. Notice again at the phase change, the temperature is not changing. We've seen that before. We understand that the temperature doesn't change at a phase change. But you will see, because energy is going into the system, the interesting thing about this, between here and here, although there's no temperature change, there is an entropy change. There's more microstate potentials available to the substance, even when you're not going temperature, because you are adding energy to the system. Okay. And looking at this one, kind of an expression of changes in entropy. If we focus on a couple, let's take a look at water in the gaseous state and water in the liquid state. So here's a nice way to make a comparison. Notice in the gaseous state we have more entropy that's measured in joules per mole per Kelvin as compared to the liquid state. So, and if we make other comparisons in here, you can probably see there's more entropy for similar substances. So for example, lithium has a lower entropy than sodium. Sodium is a heavier element and it has more potential for protons and neutrons and electrons moving around. It has more potential for entropy because of the higher molar mass. Okay, good place to take a break for the first lecture, and we'll start up the second lecture after this one.